So with the winter window underway, let's take a look at the best signing a Premier League club has made in every single January transfer window ever since its inauguration in 2003. 2003, Jonathan Woodgate to Newcastle. So we'll kick off this list with Jonathan Woodgate, a man who I'm convinced had limbs made of plasticine with the amount of time he spent in the treatment room. However, in February 2003, high-flying Newcastle poached the up-and-coming England international from Leeds United, who were about to issue a fire sale that would leave them with an empty training ground in Gary Kelly. Woodgate, a £9 million signing, excelled in St James's Park, perhaps a little bit too much though, because within 18 months he was whisked off to Real Madrid to become best friends with their physio. 2004, Jermaine Defoe to Tottenham. All Jermaine Defoe wants for Christmas is a transfer. He's moved clubs in January about 5 times, so don't be surprised if he's on the move again this month. Back in 2004 he was off to Tottenham in a £7 million deal. Yes, he spent much of the next 4 years on the bench, but he still chimed in with 64 goals. 2005, MIKEL ARTETA to Everton. You couldn't blame Everton fans for being underwhelmed when midway through their search for Champions League football, I still don't know how they managed it, they replaced Thomas Gravesen with some kid from Real Sociedad whose only experience of British football was playing on putting pitches against Kilmarnock and Gretna. Initially signed on loan, Arteta established himself as a hero at Goodison Park until 6 years later when he jogged off to Arsenal, leaving David Moyes forced to plug the hole with Leon Osman battling off rigor mortis. 2006, Nemanja Vidic to Manchester United. Only one winner here. Nemanja Vidic was arguably the greatest winter signing of them all. After interest from Liverpool, the Serbian ended up at Old Trafford for £7 million from Spartak Moscow. Yes, he immediately looked out of his depth, but soon enough he formed an impenetrable partnership with Rio Ferdinand and went about winning everything in sight. 2007, Javier Mascherano to Liverpool. It never seemed right that Javier Mascherano would be struggling to break into a West Ham midfield consisting of Hayden Mullins and Nigel Reo-Coker, so it was probably about right that a Champions League club more fitting of his talents rescued him. The Argentine spent 3.5 years at the club, establishing himself as one of the best midfielders in Europe before scarpering off to the Nou Camp. 2008, LASSANA DIARRA to Portsmouth. There aren't many footballers more impatient than LASSANA DIARRA, who seems to be on the move every 10 minutes. Back in 2007, he left Chelsea after moaning that he couldn't dislodge either Frank Lampard or Michael Essien. What was he expecting? The man was 22. He switched allegiances to Arsenal to play under a man who knows a thing or two about nurturing French talents, but after 6 months of watching Denilson get a game ahead of him, he called time on that and sank further down the ladder to Portsmouth. By the end of the season, he'd have an FA Cup medal around his neck, and within another 6 months, he'd have earned himself an £18 million move to Real Madrid. Maybe he did know what he was doing. 2009, Kevin Nolan to Newcastle. Okay, so initially Kevin Nolan was a flop, and had he left within 6 months of his arrival with Newcastle sitting in the Championship, he'd be rightly regarded as one of the club's most pointless ever signings. Prized from Bolton for £4 million, he looked slow, unfit, and he received a red card for nearly breaking Victor Anichebe in two. However, there was time for redemption. The following season he netted 18 goals as the club won promotion, before netting a further 12 the following season, including a hat-trick against Sunderland. The man with the dance moves only a drunk 60-year-old at a wedding would be proud of was rewarded with a demotion to the Championship with West Ham. Good stuff, Mike. 2010, Jack Wilshere to Bolton. Back in 2010, Jack Wilshere was tipped as a hugely bright talent for the future. It's just a shame he's another one with legs made of tinfoil. Owen Coyle's Bolton snapped the teenager up on loan in January 2010, and the 18-year-old shone in his 14 games with the club. 2011, Luis Suarez to Liverpool. Liverpool fans were probably seething on transfer deadline day back in 2011, with Fernando Torres dressed in blue and his replacement being a lad who looks like he could eat his dinner through a letterbox. So Luis Suarez probably thought he was walking into Armageddon when he turned up to be greeted by a bunch of scousers who looked like they were having the worst day of their lives. The understated £22 million signing proved to be an incredible player, battering 82 goals across 3 seasons and nearly making a Premier League champion out of John Flanagan. 2012, Gary Cahill to Chelsea. Gary Cahill had 2 options when presented with the switch from Bolton to Chelsea midway through the 11-12 season. Within 6 months he could get relegated, or he could be left in the Champions League. Yeah, tough choice. The Chelsea captain and £7 million signing is in his 7th season at the club, has won pretty much everything there is to win, while his former club rots away in the bottom half of the Championship. I hope they spent that £7 million well though. 2013, Philippe Coutinho to Liverpool. We can't not mention Philippe Coutinho now, can we? I don't know who sanctioned the Brazilian's move from the San Siro for £8.5 million, the same price as what Boomsong went for 8 years earlier, but they should probably be drop-kicked off the San Siro stadium, especially for not including a sell-on fee. Good God. As we all know, Coutinho has lit up Anfield for the last 5 years with 54 goals in 202 games, and the club have made a £133.5 million profit. Not bad. 2014, Nemanja Matic to Chelsea. Nemanja Matic, chucked away in 2011, was brought back for £21 million 4 years ago, and Judy went on to win 2 league titles in 3.5 seasons at the club. Whoever's idea it was to get rid of him for Bakayoko needs a shake. 2015, Jermaine Defoe to Sunderland. I'm not sure how Sunderland managed to convince Toronto to give them Jermaine Defoe in exchange for Josie Altidore, a man about as effective in front of goal as a 3-legged goat. Despite a shaky start where Dick Advocaat thought it sensible to play the goal scorer at wing back, he went on to rattle home 37 goals in 2.5 2.5 seasons, including a Derby winner, and forged one hell of a friendship with the one and only Bradley Lowry. 2016, Lamina Kone to Sunderland. Yeah, Sunderland fans, I can feel you reaching for the nearest rock to shove through your computer screens, but don't do that. Lamina Kone might have given up on the sport ever since Sunderland refused him a big money move to Everton in 2016, but initially he was one hell of a signing from Lorient. Under Sam Allardyce, Kone looked confident, assured, bagged the winner against Manchester United, and helped them pull off the great escape at Newcastle's expense. It's just a pity he now has seemingly lost the will to try. 2017, WILFRIED and NDIDI to Leicester. This time last year, Leicester City were being exposed every week, with N'Golo Kante's departure having ripped the heart out of their midfield. WILFRIED and NDIDI arrived for £50 million from Genk, and no, he's no Kante, but the 21-year-old Nigerian international is still establishing himself as one of the Premier League's top midfield generals. I wonder if he's going to copy Mahrez and start writing goodbye letters without having a move lined up first.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe.